Hey everyone, my name is Kat. Thanks so much for joining me for this online yoga practice to celebrate Mabon, or the autumn equinox. The autumn equinox is the time of year where the days and nights are of equal length. It's a time of balance and finding a sense of contentment before the scales begin to tip into the darker and more introspective seasons. For some of us, this can feel like a loss. We mourn the summer sun and the warmer season, whilst for others, it can feel like permission to release expectation and work on the shadow parts of ourselves in peace and solitude. However you feel during this transition is completely valid. Balance is key here to not getting overwhelmed or fearful of the darker months. We also approach Libra season, which calls for balance, and so whether you love or hate the darker half of the year, it's important that we notice both. We embrace both and appreciate that the transition can affect us all very differently. Today's yoga practice will highlight the sense of balance. Physically, we will include some balance postures, but more so energetically. We will be balancing the uplifting energy with the more grounding energy, and we will really work on paying attention to how that makes us feel in the contrast. The first half of this practice will be more energizing, and the second half will be more nurturing. So bring along any reflective tools that may benefit you, crystals, or even hot drinks that can amplify these qualities in your practice. When you're ready, let's begin. Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining this practice to celebrate Mabon as well as the transition into Libra season. So we're actually going to start today in a tabletop position. Straight away finding balance between that sun and that moon energy. And we're going to start with our cat-cow. So as we inhale, we extend the spine, we lift the chin, lift the chest. Let the belly drop back down as the tailbone reaches up, and we start to feel that energizing property, the slightly more solar energy. And then as we exhale, we round the spine into cat pose, finding a little bit of pressure through those hands, finding that space between the shoulder blades. And then do this a couple more times at your own pace, following the rhythm of your own breath. And then once you've finished your exhalation, inhale, bring yourself back to neutral. You could do that again a few more times, or you could add on a little bit by moving into bird dog. So reaching your left toes to the back of the mat, either toes to the floor or lift your left leg up, right arm alongside the right ear, breathing in. And then breathing out, bend your knee, bend your elbow, and then see if you can get those to touch as you round the spine. Inhale to extend. And as you exhale, flex the knee, flex the elbow as you bring them to touch. One more time. Exhale. Then inhale to reach, and then option to hold here once again. You could also bring your right hand to the floor, or option to bring your right hand around towards your left ankle into tiger's pose. Take a more passive stretch, or as you inhale, engage your glute, lift your chin, lift your chest, and moving into tiger's pose. Finding balance, also starting to feel that heat element building in the body. Finish your exhalation. And then when you're ready, bring your right palm under your right shoulder, left knee underneath your left hip. You could inhale into cow pose and exhale into cat. Inhale to neutral, and then bring your right toes to the back of the mat, or lift your right leg up parallel to the floor. Then left arm alongside the left ear. So strong through your right hand, breathing in, and then breathing out, flex your elbow, flex your knee, bring your chin towards your chest, elbow towards the knee. Inhale to reach. Exhale, elbow to knee. One more time. Exhale. Then inhale to reach. You could always bring your left hand down to the floor, or this time, left hand to right ankle. Maybe take that more passive stretch, heel towards your glute, or inhale, engage that glute. Lift the chin, lift the chest, moving into tiger's pose. Feeling your heart rate speeding up a little bit here. Release your left hand, release your right knee underneath your right hip. Inhale to cow pose. And exhale to cat. Inhale to neutral, and then bring your wrists slightly forward of your shoulders, tuck your toes under as you lift yourself up into your downward facing dog, and just take a couple of moments pedaling out those heels, letting the chest melt back towards your thighs, finding a bit of strength through the arms, almost as if you were trying to slide your yoga mat from underneath your feet using the strength of your arms. And then option to drop to the knees for this next posture. Otherwise, bring your feet a little bit closer to your hands, and then you could step your feet a little bit wider. We're moving into twisted downward facing dog. So we're going to start by bringing the right hand across towards your left ankle, your left thigh, looking out underneath your left armpit. And you could always do a thread the needle position from your knees if that feels more accessible to you. Inhale, right hand back to the front of your mat, and then as you exhale, left hand across towards your right calf or your right thigh, wherever it reaches, looking up towards the ceiling underneath your right armpit. Finish your exhalation. Then inhale back to downward facing dog, and you may just want to just lengthen out that spine, lengthen those feet back a little bit more as you just take an extra breath here. As you inhale, now lift your right leg up and back. As you exhale, bend your right knee. So take a little stretch through those hip flexors, and then bring your knee towards your nose, and then step your right foot between your hands. Now you could always drop your left knee to the floor here, otherwise, if possible, keeping it lifted. So you're nice and strong here in your runner's lunge, and you're going to keep your right ankle, your right knee in alignment, so they're tracing forwards as you keep your left hand to the floor. And then inhale, reach that right arm up for revolved runner's lunge. If you feel unbalanced, drop the left knee down. And I'll turn on my mat so you can see me for this next part. You could either stay with this, or as you inhale, lead with that right hand, come all the way up to a revolved crescent lunge, a twisted crescent lunge with the arms wide. And you could turn your gaze back towards that back hand, or slightly more neutral. Now look down towards your right big toe. Bring your palms together at the center of your chest. As you hook your left elbow to the outside of your right thigh, you could stay with this, or look down towards your right big toe and then step your left toes to meet your right, either toes touching or feet hips width distance apart. Revolved chair. Then as we inhale, come back through center, reach the arms forward and up for traditional chair, feeling that heat building in the legs. And then exhale, plant those hands down. Now from here, you could just shift the weight forward, shift the weight back, or if you want to take a crow jump back, you could always start to shift the weight forwards, bring those knees towards either the lower arms, if you're pretty new to arm balancing, or you could bring your knees towards your armpits, start to shift the weight into the hands, lift those heels up. For 3, looking slightly forwards. 2, 1, exhale, step or jump back into a chaturanga. As you inhale, lift into your baby cobra or your upward facing dog. And then as you exhale, back to downward facing dog. And just take a breath through the nose. Let it go. And then we have that on the other side, so hopefully already feeling quite a lot of heat building. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, bend your left knee, bring your knee towards your nose. And then step your left foot between your hands, runner's lunge. Stay with this. You could always drop that back knee down towards the floor, or keep your right palm under your right shoulder. Inhale, left arm up. And then stay here, or as you inhale, lift into your twisted version of crescent lunge. And you could look back towards that left thumb, or keep your gaze slightly more neutral. Thumbs to sternum. Look down towards your left big toe as you hook the right elbow to the outside of the left thigh, looking up towards the ceiling over your left shoulder. And then transitioning into that twisted chair. So look down towards your left big toe. You could always bring the hands to the floor if you prefer. Otherwise, big step with your right foot. Shift your right toes to meet your left. Keep sinking low. Make sure your knees don't draw one in front of the other. Keep them back and aligned. Inhale, arms up for traditional chair. Sink the weight down into the heels. Breathing in, breathing out, hands to the floor. And once again, we have the option for our crow pose. So if you didn't take it on the previous side and you don't want to take it on this side, no problem. If you want to, maybe you could take an extra breath or two. And remember, you could always skip the vinyasa or just come through knees, chest, chin. Otherwise, breathing in, breathing out, step or jump back. Inhale into your back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath. I'm certainly feeling that heat building already. Hopefully you are too. Exhale. Inhale, right leg lifts up and back. As you exhale, bend your right knee, knee towards nose. And then step right foot between the hands, back into that runner's lunge position. This time on the inhalation, we're going to lift straight away into a high lunge. Feel that energy through the legs, strong through the arms, breathing in. And then breathing out, bring your torso forwards, arms back for aeroplane lunge. Shift the weight. As you inhale, reach, crescent lunge. Exhale, aeroplane lunge. One more time, inhale to crescent. And this time, exhale, aeroplane lunge again, or shift the weight into the right leg and move into full aeroplane. Arms back, strong through the right leg. And don't worry if you lose your balance, you could always drop those hands down to the floor just for a moment. As you inhale, see if you can land lightly into either runner's lunge or full aeroplane lunge, reaching those arms up. And exhale, plant those hands down. Now if you want to skip the vinyasa, you could just step straight back to down dog, otherwise inhale to plank. Exhale, knees, chest, chin, or halfway down through chaturanga. Inhale into your back bend. And exhale into your downward facing dog. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, bend your knee, knee to nose, and step. Inhale into crescent. And then as we exhale, shift into that airplane lunge. Bring those arms back, chin forward, chest forward. Weight is strong in the left leg. Inhale, crescent. Exhale, airplane lunge. Inhale, crescent. And then exhale, airplane lunge or full airplane. Shift the weight into the left leg, right leg lifts up and back. Arms alongside your body, palms down. So you can find the strength through that right hamstring, that right glute, as your right leg stays strong, charging behind you. You can always have a little bend in your left knee, keeping your spine as tall as possible. It's always okay to leave the hands lightly on the floor. Finish your exhalation. Then as we inhale, see if you can land lightly into crescent lunge or runner's lunge. And then exhale, plant those hands down. Inhale, back to plank. Exhale, lower down. Inhale into your back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath in. Exhale fully. Now widen your feet, mat width distance, toes just off the mat, heels just on the mat. Walk your hands back as you begin to sink your hips down, hips towards the floor. And now we're going to start to move a little bit slower, a little bit more gently. We do have the option for one more balance, but you can always skip it. So we're actually going to start in our garland pose. You could always keep the hands to the floor or sit on a block. Otherwise, eventually working on bringing the thumbs to the sternum. Keep Keep your shoulders relaxed. Stay strong through the feet, breathing fully. And then we're going to move into a revolved garland pose or a revolved crow pose. So I'll demonstrate the revolved garland pose first, and then you could always add on if it feels appropriate for you. So bring the right hand down to the floor just in front of your thigh. So the hand's nice and wide, the fingers are spread nice and wide, and then reaching the left arm up. And you could stay with this open twist, or you could actually reach your left hand around for your, you might be able to see it there, your hip or your inner thigh, or you could reach your right hand back for a bind. Now, if this feels good and actually you want to work a little bit more with that slightly more solar heat building energy, then you're going to bring your heels to touch, toes to touch. Your heels will lift off the floor, your knees will draw together. Then bring your hands to the right side of your body. Your left elbow will be touching your right knee, and then you're bringing your opposite elbow towards the hip. And then from here, lift those hips up, start to shift. And then you could either have the knees just contacting, or the knee and the hip contacting, looking forwards, or you could even look slightly back towards the space behind you. So there's a couple of options there you can take. No longer than 5 breaths if you're taking your side crow on that side. For 3, 2, and 1. Bring yourself back if you're in your side crow, or unwind and unbind if you're in your garland pose. And just find a breath in the middle here if you need to release your wrists. If they're feeling a little bit sensitive, please do that. And then we're going to move that into the other side. So bring your left hand wide if you're moving into your side garland pose. Right arm up with the option to bind for for the lower back or towards the wrist. And if you did want to take your side crow, knees together, feet together, hands now over to the left side. Palms are shoulder width, elbows are bending like chaturanga arms. You can either having your knees contacting your elbow and then the hip on the opposite elbow, or just the knees in contact as we start to lift the feet up off the floor. And again, gaze could be forwards or slightly back. And you don't have to hold it this whole time, but just giving yourself enough time to play with that. And then if anyone was still in their side crow, just gently release. Bring yourself back to center. If you're in your garland pose, unwind. Give your wrists a little release. And then from here, if you're close enough to the floor, you're just going to bring your hands behind your hips. Sit down and then extend your legs out in front. If you need to kind of move off to the side, then you can do that as well. And we're going to move into our seated forward fold. So bring your legs out in front. And this is going to be a slightly more passive forward fold. So it's less about getting chin to shin, nose to toes, more about just softening over the legs. So we're going to breathe in, nice tall spine, and then breathing out, start to walk your hands forward. And if it's appropriate, you could rest your forehead down towards the knees. You could also, if you have a spare pillow or blocks, you could even place them under your knees. And I just want you to notice more about how the tension feels through the back line of the body. So there's probably quite an obvious hamstring stretch. But this does also release the tissues of your low back, mid back, and if your head is relaxed down, even through the tissues of the back of your neck and the backs of the arms. As you inhale, roll up the spine, and we're going to move into Janu Sirsasana, head to knee pose. So we're going to start by bending the right knee. And we're going to bring the sole of the right foot to the inner left thigh. And you're going to do your best to keep your hips squared to the front edge of your yoga mat. So they're not opening to the side, it's not a twisting pose. But both hip bones are facing forwards. And again, you could have your hands nice and wide, or you could reach one hand, 2 hands towards your left foot. And we're going to start with that nice long spine. So we'll breathe in, bring the chin, the chest, the belly forwards. And then breathing out once again, maybe we soften in, letting the head relax down a little bit more. Finish your exhalation. Inhale, we rise up. Draw your right knee in, straighten through your right leg, and we'll switch sides. So bending your left knee, sole of the foot towards the inner right thigh, and just notice how it feels to not only slow down, but actually with this slowing, we can bring more awareness to how we feel through the body, bring in that more introspective sensation through some of these postures. So start off nice and tall, hands wide, breathing in. And then breathing out, maybe we want to fold a little bit deeper, maybe hands to foot. Maybe once you found that length, you want to relax your head down. As we inhale, we rise all the way back up. Left knee through center and then straighten through your left leg. And we're going to bring both of those now into the same position. So with both legs together, we're going to bend both knees. Bring the soles of the feet together, and they might be pretty close to your sit bones, or they might be a little bit further away depending on what feels best through your anatomy. You don't want to feel pain in your knee joints, and you want to be able to maintain a tall spine, especially to begin with here. So shoulders down, elbows in. I want you to see if you can find your sit bones on the floor, and if you can't find them, use your hands, your fingertips to help elevate your spine a little bit more until you can find those on the floor. Shoulders down, breathing in. And then option as we exhale, maybe you want to start folding forwards a little bit more. And we do want to keep our spine long, especially to begin with. So we want to lead with the chin, lead with the chest. But then once you've found that length, maybe you want to soften and relax a little bit more. Inhale, we rise up, slowly, slowly, gently. Bring both knees to center. And then from here, we're just gonna lay down on our backs. And we're gonna come into a reclined pigeon. And then from here, we're going to bend the right knee, bring the right ankle over the left thigh. So we're just in this kind of figure 4 position, and you can use your right hand to help press that thigh open, or as you exhale, hug your left thigh, your left shin in towards your chest. But make sure your shoulders stay relaxed. Try not to let, if you feel like your neck is kind of straining or your low back is straining and your head is pressing to the floor, just try your best to just soften a little bit. A little bit of tension on the fronts of the arms can be good, but not so much that you feel your whole upper back starting to arch away from the mat. And then you can stay with this, or bring the sole of the left foot to the floor. Option then to slide your right calf to the outside of the left thigh. And you may want to press your hips slightly to the right as you lower your knees over towards the left. And then you can use your left hand to press those thighs down. You could bring your right shoulder towards the floor, maybe looking towards the right hand. And then you can use your hands to help you guide your knees back through center. Uncross those legs. Bring the sole of the right foot to the floor, left ankle over your right thigh. You could use your left hand to press that thigh open. Or as you exhale, hug your right thigh, right shin towards your chest. Make sure those left toes stay flexed back, keeping the ankle nice and safe. And then bring the sole of the right foot to the floor. You could always stay with that, or to move into a twisted variation, slide your left calf to the outside of the right thigh, hips slightly to the left as you lower your knees over to the right. You could choose your right hand onto your left thigh, left arm out to the side if it feels good, maybe gaze towards the left. And we just remind ourselves the intention is to find the balancing of those energies. With Mabon, with this autumn equinox, some of us may still have some of that lingering energy from the summer season, from the heat, from the sun. But for many of us, actually, the process of cooling down, calming down, may have already taken root, and we may feel already this desire for a bit of inner stillness. Very gently guide your knees back through center. Hug both knees in. And then bring the soles of the feet together to the floor. Let the knees draw open to the side. Rest one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. And just closing off the eyes. Let go of any control of your breathing and just find a natural rhythm. Maybe that's slightly slower. Maybe you feel the belly starting to rise and fall with your breath. Maybe you can even feel the pulse of your heart. And this is where the beauty happens. We find this balance of energizing, of uplifting, of lightness in comparison with the stillness, the relaxation, and the rest. And depending on how we feel, this can feel like a very challenging transition to let go of expectation. The summer sun can give us a sense of energy, accomplishment, even more time. And then when that disappears, it can feel like a loss. We're letting parts of ourselves go. But just as the leaves on the trees fall, the trees don't mourn the loss of the leaves. Instead, they use this as an opportunity to conserve energy deep in their roots. They let go of anything that no longer serves them, leaving them feeling stronger and more nourished for the next year ahead. And so as you two let go, you start to release some of the expectations that you may have set yourself in the summer season. I encourage you not to look at this from a point of mourning, but from a place of creating space, creating opportunity and potential deep within your soul, deep within your core, ready to be utilized again in the next spring. I encourage you please to stay resting here for as long as you have the time for. If you have time for reflection, it's a really nice time to maybe use this opportunity to notice what you could let go of, what no longer serves you as you transition into the darker season, but also perhaps how you could find balance, how you could continue to bring those parts of yourself you'd like to into the darker season, but knowing where to draw those lines. How can you find balance between the sun, the moon, the light, the dark in this autumn equinox? So however you're spending your autumn equinox, I wish you all the best. Thank you all so much for joining me. Namaste.